This happened in the mid-2000s. During the summer, my parents separated. I was about 4 or 5. My mom had just moved us into a small 2-bedroom apartment on the first floor of a quiet complex. Nothing fancy. Beige walls, thin carpet, a hallway that felt longer at night than it did during the day. The 2 bedrooms were directly across from each other at the end of that hallway. I technically had my own room, but after the separation, I hated sleeping alone. So most nights, I slept in my mom's bed. It was the middle of July, humid. My mom kept the window in her room open at night because the AC barely worked. The window was right behind the headboard, maybe 3 feet off the ground outside. That night felt normal, until I woke up. I don't remember what time it was. The room was dark except for the faint yellow glow of a streetlight leaking through the blinds. The fan was humming softly. I sat up, and I saw our cat. He was sitting perfectly still in the doorway of my mom's room, facing down the hallway. That was strange. He usually slept curled up by our feet. He never left the bed at night. I remember whispering his name. He didn't look at me. He stood up slowly and walked across the hallway into my bedroom. A few seconds later, I heard him meow. Not a normal meow. It was sharp, alert. I turned and shook my mom's shoulder. It took maybe 3 or 4 seconds for her to wake up and ask, "What's wrong?" And that's when we both looked up. There was a man standing in my bedroom doorway. He was halfway turned, like he had just been inside my room and was now stepping back into the hallway. I couldn't see his face clearly, just a dark silhouette against the lighter wall behind him. But I remember his shoulders, broad, still. My mom didn't scream. She didn't freeze. She reacted instantly. She grabbed me under my arms, lifted me out of bed, and ran to the open window behind us. Before I even understood what was happening, she pushed me through the screen. We were on the first floor. It was maybe a 3-foot drop into the grass. I landed hard but didn't get hurt. Within a second, she climbed out after me. That's when she started screaming. Not panicked screaming, commanding, loud, repeated. "Call 911. There's a man in my apartment." Lights turned on in nearby units. Someone shouted back asking what happened. A neighbor called the police. The whole time, my mom kept me behind her. I remember looking back at the apartment window, expecting to see him looking out at us. But it was just darkness. Police arrived within minutes. They cleared the apartment room by room. Closets, bathroom, under beds. He was gone. There were no signs of forced entry. No broken locks, no damaged window, nothing. The only thing officers noted was that the front door was unlocked. Not broken, unlocked. The deadbolt wasn't engaged. The chain wasn't latched. My mom insisted she locked both before bed. She was obsessive about it after the separation. The police suggested maybe she forgot, but she swore she didn't. For about a week, we stayed with my aunt. Officers increased patrols around the complex, but nothing suspicious was reported. Then, about 7 days later, my mom went back during the day to start cleaning and packing. She had already decided we were moving. She was in the kitchen when she opened the small utility closet that housed the water heater. Something felt off immediately. There was a notebook on the floor. Not ours. Inside were pages filled with names. Some were random. Some were repeated over and over. There were crude drawings too. Sketches of the apartment layout, the hallway, the bedrooms. There was even a rough drawing of a bed with 2 figures on it. Next to the notebook was a pair of gloves and several empty gum wrappers. The police came back out. They took everything. Their theory was simple and terrifying. The man likely entered while we were gone earlier that evening and hid, possibly inside that very closet, waiting. They believed he stayed silent until we were asleep, came out, and went into my bedroom first. Maybe he didn't expect me to wake up. Maybe the cat ruined whatever he planned. There were no fingerprints recovered, no suspect ever identified. We moved out that week. I'm in my 20s now, and I still think about one thing. If our cat hadn't been sitting in that doorway, if he hadn't walked into my room and made that noise, my mom might not have woken up in time, and I might not be here telling this story. This happened in 2013, during the early fall. I was 9 years old, and my dad worked overnight shifts at a distribution center about an hour away. On weeknights, it was usually just me and my mom in the house. We rented a 2-story home in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind where nothing ever seems to happen. Kids rode bikes in the evenings, porch lights came on at the same time every night, and everyone waved but didn't really know each other. The house itself wasn't new, but it wasn't old enough to feel creepy either. The only thing I didn't like was the attic access in the upstairs hallway ceiling. It was one of those square panels with a string hanging down. When you pulled it, a folding ladder dropped. My bedroom was directly across from that panel. My mom's room was next to mine. One Thursday night, my dad left for work around 10:15 p.m. I remember because he always checked the doors twice before leaving. He was strict about that. By midnight, I was in bed. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator downstairs and the occasional car passing outside. Sometime later, I woke up to a faint noise. At first, I thought it was wind. Then I realized it was coming from above me. It sounded like weight shifting, wood creaking slowly under pressure. I stayed still, listening. Another step. It was deliberate, careful. Not random house noises, not pipes, not wind. Footsteps, directly above my ceiling. I sat up and stared at the dark. My room was dimly lit by a streetlight outside. Everything looked normal. But the sound continued. Slow pacing, moving from one end of the ceiling to the other. I got out of bed and opened my door quietly. My mom was already in the hallway. She looked like she hadn't slept at all. "You hear that too?" she whispered. Before I could answer, we both heard it again. 3 slow steps, then a pause, then a light scraping sound. We both looked up at the attic panel. It shifted slightly. Not enough to open, just enough to tell us something was above it. My mom didn't scream. She grabbed her phone and dialed 911 immediately, speaking in a low, controlled voice. The dispatcher told us to leave the house right away. We didn't grab shoes. We didn't grab anything. We walked quickly down the stairs and out the front door, standing barefoot on the cold driveway in the middle of the night. From outside, the house looked completely normal. All the upstairs lights were still on. The attic vent near the roofline looked undisturbed. But we knew what we heard. Police arrived within minutes. 2 officers entered with flashlights drawn while another stayed outside with us. We watched from across the street. One of the officers positioned himself under the attic panel and slowly pulled the string. The ladder unfolded. He climbed up. There was silence for about 10 seconds. Then he said, "There's stuff up here." They found a sleeping bag laid out between the beams, several empty water bottles, granola bar wrappers, a small backpack, and something else, a handheld digital camera. The insulation had been flattened into a narrow walking path that led directly above both bedrooms. One of the officers noticed that a small ceiling vent in my mom's room had been loosened from above. Not removed completely, just shifted enough to create a tiny gap. From the attic, someone could see straight down into her room. The police searched the entire house again. No one was there. There were no signs of forced entry on any doors or windows. Later, officers discovered that the garage had a side access panel leading into the attic space. It wasn't visible unless you were inside the garage, and it wasn't locked. Whoever it was likely entered through the garage at some point when it had been left open earlier in the week. Based on the amount of trash and supplies, officers believed someone had been staying up there for several days, maybe longer. The camera was taken as evidence. We never found out what was on it. No suspect was identified. We moved out within 2 weeks. For months afterward, I couldn't sleep in any room with an attic above it. Every small creak made my chest tighten. The worst part isn't knowing someone was up there. It's knowing they were patient. They didn't rush. They waited. And the footsteps we heard that night? They weren't random movement. They were pacing. Like whoever had been living above us was deciding whether or not to come down.